But then I think what I find really interesting is that you had this defining moment in your sort of life and career when you were 35, and you decided, look, at that point, you were no longer going to look for jobs. They were going to find you. I just find that so fascinating, because so many people would think, well, we'll have blind faith that things will turn out okay, but you actually took action. Do you want to just give a few insights into that? Because I just find that amazing that you took action like that.
Yeah. So in recent years, I've adopted a phrase that I learned in a TED Talk, which is like the most cliche thing you can ever say, right? But there's a TED Talk by a guy named Astro Teller. That's his real name.
Great name.
He's the guy who, yeah, it's a great name. And he runs the innovation lab at Google. It's called X, is the name of the innovation lab. And he has a TED Talk. And in that TED Talk, among many other smart things, he uses a phrase called enthusiastic skepticism. And enthusiastic skepticism means that, like, hey, things might be good, but I'm skeptical that this is the best that things can be. And I'm enthusiastic about finding better ways to do that, right? It turns out that, to me, like, I've been living my whole life enthusiastically skeptical. And that manifested, I think, for the first time kind of physically, frankly, on the morning of my 35th birthday, because I've been working for about 10 years. I did the music thing for a while, got a little bit of a late start into my career, but about 10 years in, I had done pretty well. I became the director of user experience at a company in New York City called The Ladders. I had a team, good salary, was married by that time. My daughters were born, house, like the American dream, right? 2 cars, house, the whole thing. And so I woke up 10 years into my career on when I turned 35, and the enthusiastic skepticism kicked into a panic attack, which I was like, what's happening here? And it took me a little while to figure it out. But what I realized a few hours later was the reason I was freaking out on the morning of my 35th birthday was because it subconsciously dawned on me that in 5 years, I'm going to be 40, right? And from that side of 40 feels old. It feels like the end of the road. Now, look, from this side of 40, hey, I'm looking forward to being 40 again.
You're still looking good, Jeff.
Thank you. But like, when you're 35, especially in tech, it's like, well, in 5 years, I'm going to be 40. And not only am I going to be 40, I'm going to be expensive. And my paranoia was that I was going to be unemployable. Like, I was making $175,000 a year as the director of user experience in New York. This is when I was 35. I saw colleagues of mine who were a little bit older than me moving on to their next gigs, and they were looking for gigs paying $200, $225, because their standard of living had grown. Their kids had gotten older. They were living in the New York City suburbs, and they were struggling. And I was convinced that that was not going to be me. I was not going to end up in a situation where in 5 years, I was going to be too expensive and unemployable. And so I decided, and I realized that if I continue down the same path, kind of the story that we've been sold our entire lives is go to college, get a job, work hard, get a promotion, move to another company, get a little bit more money, a little bit more responsibility, but climb that corporate ladder, right? My realization, what's my paranoia, or you can call it my enthusiastic skepticism, was that I was doing really well following that plan, and I was going to start losing. I was not going to continue to do nearly as well. And in that world, in that process, you are giving up control of your career, right? You're saying, I'd like to find a new job. Or maybe somebody says, you need to go find a new job, right? Because you're getting fired, whatever it is. You put yourself out there, you push yourself into opportunities, you push yourself into the market, you throw your resume out there, your CV, and you hope that somebody will choose you. They'll choose you for a phone screen. They'll choose you for an interview. They'll choose you for a job. And that lack of control is what really bothered me. And I figured if I could figure out how to reclaim control over my career, so instead of me pushing myself out into the market, if I could create a situation where I'm pulling opportunities towards me, well, that would guarantee that no matter what came my way, whether I was 35 or 40 or 45 or whatever, there was always an inbound stream of opportunities. And so that's what I decided to do that morning. I then went and tried to figure out how to do it for the last 13 years. But that was the big decision and the rationale for that decision that day.